7 o'clock.
Do
Okay,
you want me to
John,
give the little preamble, Marty?
I would. Yes, please.
Okay, so welcome to the Board of Supervisors meeting of Tuesday, July 21st. Public will be muted during the meeting when the board is talking. For each agenda item that requires a board vote, the public will be unmuted and given an opportunity to comment and ask questions. Participants wishing to comment must state their name and must speak one at a time. Comments or questions can also be submitted via email to info@eastgoshen.org. Again, submit your questions if you'd like by email to info@eastgoshen.org. Participants should turn down the volume if they are live streaming the meeting on YouTube and be aware that there's about a 10 to 15 second delay between the YouTube and the actual Zoom meeting. That's all I have.
Very good, John. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the Tuesday, July 21st meeting of the Board of Supervisors. I would ask that everybody join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
Of America and to the
and to the
republic
republic
which
which it stands, one
one
nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
for all.
David, you want to lead us in a moment of silence, please?
Yeah, I'll ask that we observe a moment of silence for those who go in harm's way every day. Our firefighters, our EMS personnel, our police force, and of course our military. And I would also like to have a special moment of silence for a retired police officer, Mark Sufert, who passed away this week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. The meeting is, as John said, the meeting is being live streamed on YouTube. The public hearing is at the end, and everybody knows that's here what that's about. There is no chairman's report. Well, there is actually a chairman's report, but one of it will be handled shortly because there's a motion involved in that. That said, we have a guest with us tonight. It's our fire chief and former supervisor, Mr. Batavio, Carmen Batavio, who's going to give the report for the very emergency services. It's all yours, Carmen.
There we go.
What happened?
Sorry, I keep on.
He has to unmute. Carmen, you need to unmute yourself.
Times now.
There you go.
I'll stop talking.
Yeah, yeah, he has to do it himself. There we go.
I unmuted 5 times. It wouldn't accept it, but there
There
am
we
I
go.
on?
You're
Yep.
on.
Now,
Am I live?
yes, yes.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you're safe and cool. I'd like to be very brief. And then I have one little 10-second explanation for something. These calls will be for East Goshen only. Goshen had 30 fire calls, 12 fire police, 169 EMS. You can see on your breakdowns where it does for age, value, and wear and so forth. Malvern Fire Company had 28 BLS with a couple transports and 25 ALS with 14 transports. Good Fellowship, GFAC, had 47 calls, which is 11.8% of their calls. And if I could very quickly, now that I am back active and engineering with Goshen, I sent a letter into Rick, but it didn't make this agenda. I am making more fire marshal calls, but in many cases it's driving the apparatus. So I'm on location if they need me for East Goshen for any investigation, or if I need to utilize and call any East Goshen, assets into works. But I'm doing it through engineering with the fire company. So my responses in my vehicle are pretty much limited to like burning complaints. I've had a couple of hoarding calls. We had an inspection at a facility that takes care of wounded people. So just so you understand, I'm making more calls than I did before, but it's on the apparatus with Goshen. So after saying that, are there any questions?
Thank you very much, Carmen.
It's nice
Anybody have any
to not
questions for
see
Carmen? Nobody
No.
have any questions for him?
No
Susan, anybody in the troops?
I'll unmute and see. Callers, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Marty, you're good.
Okay. The next is what I would defer till now before we do the next item. We had an executive session to meet. We talked about a number of different things that are approved for the executive session, but one of them, we didn't take a vote in there, but it does require a vote. So I would ask David if he would put a motion on the floor and we'll get a second of it. Then we'll have the board comment and the audience comment if they have any comments, and then we'll take the motion. We'll take the vote. So David, if you could have a motion, that would be great.
Okay, I would like to move that we terminate our relationship with Rieger, Rizzo, and Darnall with Margie Morris, representative on pipeline PUC matters, and that we explore appointing Guy Donatelli of Lamb Eckerline, and barring any conflicts with Guy Donatelli representing us, I would propose that we talk to Mark Freed as a default representative after we talk to Guy.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Is there any comments from the board?
No.
No,
Any comments from your group, Susan?
Callers, do you have any comments?
I'm going to say have a good night to everybody and be safe. I'm going to sign out.
Thanks,
Carmen.
Carmen.
Marvin?
Thank you. Take care.
Anybody up there?
I have a
Susan?
question.
No,
I have a question.
go ahead, Leo.
Okay, I assume that the BOS has evaluated her bills. Were there in fact any overcharges?
No, we've already done that.
John Altshull, can you answer that for Leo?
Yeah, I mean, Marty, is it appropriate to just jump into the agenda item or?
Why don't you answer Leo's question and just go into your
Yeah.
financial report?
So Leo, in the packet, there was a memo that I wrote, as well as a copy of that invoice in question. And based on our review, our discussions with County Comptroller Margaret Reef, as well as with Ms. Morris herself, and obviously a review of all of those daily local articles, the township staff didn't find any reason to believe that Ms. Morris had overbilled the township for her work on the PUC matter, on the Flynn versus Sunoco matter. There were sort of three areas of focus in that study, or in our evaluation. And the first one, the kind of the headline grabbing one that they found with the county, was that Ms. Morris was charging more than the contractual amount that she'd agreed to. In our case, we had one contract with Ms. Morris in which she said she would charge us a maximum of $400 per hour. For this PUC matter, she actually charged us less than that. She charged us $350 an hour. So there was no problem with the hourly rate. The second issue was concerning the charge for the transcripts for the 2 days of the hearings. Basically, we were charged, I believe, $1,163. There was concern that the county was basically charged the same thing. So essentially we were double charged for that transcript. But Ms. Morris sent us a copy of the invoice from the third party transcript service, court reporter service. And indeed, the actual cost that the law firm was charged was twice what we were charged. So we were charged appropriately for the transcript. And last but not least, there was questions about whether she may have padded her hours on October 21st through October 24th. And again, after reviewing the invoices as well as comparing them to the county invoices and looking at the hours that those hearings lasted, and as well as Rick's recollection of discussions with Rick as well as with Kevin Miller, there was no evidence to suggest she padded her hours on those days. So in conclusion, we found no evidence to suggest that we were overbilled.
Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you.
Good report.
Okay, John, you want to go with your financial report?
Well, no.
we have to have a
Get a
vote
vote.
though.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're due. David, yes, all I have to do is call a vote. We're ready to go. All those in favor of the motion, aye.
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 Anybody opposed? No. 5-0, John. Thank you very much. I appreciate your help down there because it's tough for me to see when I don't have anything to see with. But I will, what I like.
Yes, you will.
The next thing, did you do the treasurer? You didn't do the treasurer's report, did you, John?
The treasurer's report is after the financial report, Marty.
And
I see it.
isn't the chief supposed to have come after,
Yeah, that's true.
so I think
I
the
snuck
chief
the
is
other one
next,
in so
isn't she?
John could do his thing.
Well,
John, is there, why don't you do your financial report?
well, let's let the chief, Marty, let's let the chief go.
Oh,
And
I'm sorry, it's not on the agenda. I didn't notice she was here, or I missed it, one or the other. I
On
missed
the
it, I guess.
agenda, under emergency services.
Yeah, I see it. Is the chief here? I didn't
Yes,
hear.
he's here.
it.
Can you get a squad car up to Marty's house?
On him.
Hey, Chief, do me a favor. Take as long as you want tonight. Because Mike is going to be here to 10 o'clock.
Okay, well, I'll try to keep it brief. As David indicated, over the weekend, we did lose a retired officer, Mark Suford, from the department. It was unexpected and it was very sudden. And we'd like to thank the community for the outpouring of sympathy and concern that we've been receiving on our Facebook page.
Good.
It's very much appreciated. Officer Suford served with us for almost 22 years before retiring in 2018. He left behind a wife and 2 very small children. So we ask that the community continue to keep his family in their prayers and thoughts at this time. Pandemic, I'd like to give an update. We have pretty much returned to normal services. Residents who have vehicle lockouts, non-criminal fingerprinting, medication drop-off, you're welcome to come into our lobby during normal business hours. We just ask that you use a mask when you do come in. Also, we are going to, within the next 2 weeks, begin to accept applications for new part-time officers. We will be advertising, but we'll also be disseminating a flyer to the townships so that they can help us find really good qualified candidates. And lastly, the only trend that we've seen in the police department that is particularly concerning at this time is, if it's possible, our frauds and our scams have reached a new high. We can't begin to describe every single one of them because there's too many and they're too creative. 2 pieces of advice we have for our residents. Number 1, do not give out personal information to anyone who contacts you. Doesn't matter if it's by telephone, by mail, email, or anything else. Do not give it out. And the second thing is, if something sounds off, please call us. We will be happy to tell you whether what's happening to you is a scam or not. And if we can protect you from becoming a victim, that's much better than trying to help you deal with the aftermath. Because many residents are finding out that having to contact all of the 3 credit bureaus and dealing with a bank and dealing with their credit cards in the middle of a pandemic is truly overwhelming. So if you get contacted or like something pops up on your computer screen, call us and say, hey, this happened. Is this a scam? We will be more than happy to help you because we want to protect you. And that's
Chief,
really all I have.
Chief, would you be willing to give us that non-emergency number so that people can call?
Oh, absolutely. It's 610-692-5100. And you're still going to be talking to the dispatch center, but it's not
Right.
a true 911 emergency, and they'll have the officer contact you or call you or visit you. But it's the best way to get a hold of an officer for anything that's on your mind. The officer can give you a quick telephone call back.
And then the other question I had for you is, at this point, does it look like we're going to have a neighbor, rather resident police academy?
No, as I indicated at the last police
I didn't
commission
think so.
meeting, the visit to the 911 center can occur. It would be too risky to do CPR and first aid training. Much of our hands-on can't be done. And instead, we're going to try to create videos about topics that are of concern. And then maybe once the people watch the video, we could have kind of like a meeting very much like this, where people call in and ask questions based upon what they saw.
Nice. Very good.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it'll go well. We'd prefer to do this in person because it's just more personal, and that's kind of the way we do business, is a much more personal service. but we want everybody to be safe.
Mhm.
Chief, it's David. On the scam situations, I know that a lot of people target the elderly on those things. What else can we do from a communications perspective just to alert people? It's amazing to me that people are still, falling victim to some of these things that are so obviously a scam. Is there anything else we can, are the Hershey's Mill Village doing seminars by villages? Are they using their TV station to communicate? Are we using constant contact enough? Or is there anything else we could be doing to mitigate that?
I think the township's doing a really good job, and Hershey's Mill has been very open to us. We did a coffee with a cop. We've gone out when they had different like health fairs. We had representation there. We've also done little infomercials for their TV station. What it comes down to is that seniors are just a little bit more trusting, and these individuals capitalize on that trust. They will call up and they'll say, "This is Officer Jones. You must give me this." And they believe that they're truly being contacted. What has made it so incredibly difficult is the technology now allows people to make it appear as though a telephone call is coming from the sheriff's office or
Right.
police department or some other legitimate location.
Yeah.
So, we told our seniors to get caller ID, and they did, and then they created a technology that defeated that.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating. But the only thing I can say is if you are aware of these scams and you're like watching a meeting like this, please talk to your family and friends. And it's just that simple. If somebody contacts you, call the police. If something doesn't sound right, if they say they're this or whatever, call us. We will be more than happy to talk to you. We will be more than happy to give you advice that's going to protect you. But at this point, I can't think of anything else that we can do, because we've really tried every avenue. And every time we get a hole plugged, they find a new scam or a new way to try to defraud our residents. It's really frustrating. And the sad thing is once the money leaves the country, and many of these scams are being perpetrated by people outside the country, it is almost impossible to get the money back.
Yeah.
Every now and then we get lucky, but not often.
Chief, this is
Maybe I
Marty.
can help.
You're not advocating having people call you up if they don't have a question, right? You're not keeping like a list of which scams are the biggest, are you?
Yeah, we're not keeping a list of that, but I mean, just asking for advice. Something as simple as, I'm selling something on, Craigslist, and this person sent me a check for 3 times the amount that I asked. Yes, that's a scam. Don't do it.
Oof.
So, I mean, literally, we have scams that go from everything from the grandparent scam. People think that they're contacting Google or Microsoft or whatever because they find a telephone listing online, and it's a scam.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're contacting somebody who's going to now defraud them. It's extremely frustrating. And I feel so bad for the people that lose money. And if you're reading our police blotter, you know that every single week we have at least 2 or 3 residents in the townships that are losing money. And it's frustrating because we can't stop it.
Thank you.
I certainly don't have the solution for you. I don't know if anybody else does, but I certainly don't. It's a shame. I myself fit that category, and I get them, but I know what to do. So I don't tell you or anybody else. I just hang up the phone.
Marty, can I suggest you open up the floor to the general public?
Yep. Hey, Leo or
Yes.
Christina, do you have anything up there?
Can I add something, please? There's one thing I've noticed on these calls. Most of these calls are being set by a computer system, Okay, that's why they're able to use the fake phone numbers.
Mhm.
So what happens is when the individual when you pick your phone, they're calling you, right? The computer system's sitting there waiting for a response. Once it receives a response, then it kicks in, and it then takes that information, it takes your number, and it diverts it to a caller on the other end, who then proceeds, his spiel.
Mhm.
Something I've been telling everybody is, you pick up the phone. I know this is not going to sound like a good thing to do, but what you do is you just sit there silently. If you sit there silently, within 5 to 10 seconds, the computer is going to disconnect because it's going to think that it's got a dead call. Now, if somebody on the other end is wanting to talk to you, they will talk to you. They'll say hello. Then you know you got a real person. Otherwise, yeah, you're sitting inside the scam.
Yeah, for a long
I
time,
know a lot about this.
we were telling people, if you don't recognize the number, not to pick up.
Can't do that.
Yeah, you're
That
right,
won't work
because
anymore.
they're spoofing it.
Yeah.
They're making it look
Yes.
like it's coming from an entity, and it's like, gosh, did somebody just change their phone number and I don't know it? So yeah, you're right. If you
Yeah.
don't respond to one of the robocalls and you just sit there silently, they'll disconnect. That's correct. That will happen.
Yeah. I've been talking to a lot of people. I've been lecturing this on Facebook for the last 2 years. My past career has always kicked in, and I'll be honest with you. I go on the web and I search for these people and I learn what they're doing. I watch all these Facebook guys out there. These YouTubers out there who are teaching people how to get around these scams. So that is the biggest scam, is the fact that they're now using computer systems to fake the numbers, and then they sit there and they just simply set you up. Again, I think the best thing you can tell people is, do not answer. You answer the phone, you pick it up, you don't say anything. We have to change our culture in the United States. We got to rethink how we do things, like we're doing with the face mask thing now. Don't say hello. Make them say hello. That's the quickest answer I can come up with at this time.
Hi, it's Christina. I just had one suggestion that might help the residents, and that is maybe if we put together a quick little list for the township newsletter, for the next newsletter, maybe that describes maybe the most common scams that you're seeing. I completely understand what you're saying. My sister is actually the head of fraud and security at the World Bank, so I hear these all the time, and they're very similar to what you're describing, Chief. But maybe if we just described, top ones, like Microsoft calls you and says that they've detected a problem with your computer and you need to pay for this software to remove it. Second one, like you said, you've listed an item on Craigslist, but they're going to overpay you and they want a refund. Third one, just a quick little list of the top 5 or 10, maybe, so to educate that residents a little bit better.
Yeah, we have done a newsletter article like that in the past. And I think that's what I originally submitted for the most recent newsletter, but because of world events, we preempted it and submitted something else. But yes, we can definitely do that. Knowledge is power. And if we give information to the residents, maybe they'll read the newsletter article and share it with their friends. And that's exactly what we want. So yes, we can do that.
And unfortunately, it sounds like the nature of these scams is going to continue to evolve. So it might have to be an ongoing topic that's covered in the newsletters.
We also had it on our website, but we found that we weren't getting too many hits on it. So we thought we'd try different avenues to get the information out.
Chief, it's Michelle. There's somebody who's watching on YouTube and sent me a text. And she just asked if there's a chance that there's any federal help that can be obtained regarding fraud numbers and whatnot. Is there anything that any federal help that you can get to help do that?
We have tried to work with our federal partners. Like, for example, when we find out that individuals, there was one scam that was going around where individuals would get one of the COVID incentive checks and unemployment stuff, and that was a scam. We reach out to our partners, or IRS, or Social Security Administration. We also list several links that are helpful on our website. And when our officers actually respond, they give the victim of the crime information about, like, here's information on how to contact the 3 credit bureaus and make sure you lock down your credit. This is who you need to contact for this type of scam. So we do provide information to the residents that way. But, you know, I don't know what too much more that we could do with our feds.
Yeah.
Okay, Chief, thank you very much. Does anybody else have any questions for the Chief? Okay, let's move on. Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
If you don't need me, I will get out of your meeting and leave you in peace.
Nope. Nope, we always need you, but you can get out of the meeting.
Take
Thank
care,
you.
everybody.
Chief.
Stay
Thank
safe.
you.
The next item is the approval of the minutes and the treasurer's report.
No, it's the financial report, Marty.
Oh, Chris, you got, you'd have been better off doing it in the first place.
Okay, I'll power through it quickly. So a
We're
lot of
all-
material in your
John, we're
packet.
sitting
I'll
on
just
the edge
keep it
of our
high
seat
level,
waiting
Marty.
for this.
Marty, I'll keep it high level. A lot of material in your packet. If you have any questions, feel free to follow up. But as of mid-year, as of June 30th, the township has a negative budget variance of $141,191 and a year-to-date surplus of $793,711. So we're a little bit behind where we should be, but all things equal, given the state of the country and the economy, it could be a whole lot worse. I would observe that earned income tax is not falling quite as much as I thought it would, although the proof will be in the pudding in the August remittances. We're also seeing the lot of cert requests for resale homes. So the real estate market is working right now. So, knock on wood that things continue the way they appear to be going. All of the operating departments are under budget at the moment, although that will obviously change on the emergency services side because of the Act 111 arbitration award. And that check is in the treasurer's report for this time. So that will poke a hole in that departmental budget. At this point, projecting that the township will finish the year with a deficit of $488,314. That's actually only nominally worse than the transfer from fund balance in the adopted budget. So what you really have is you have a hit from the Act 111 arbitration award, and also a hit from declining revenues, but those are offset by the budget cuts that the Board of Supervisors put in place a couple months ago, as well as some just general cost savings. We had, for example, a mild winter snow-wise, and non-existent snow winter.
Anybody have any questions for John?
I'm not finished, Marty.
Oh, sorry about that.
Accounts receivable.
Can't see you, John.
Accounts receivable was at a record low. And this is, again, sort of one of these counterintuitive things. You would expect accounts receivable to go up because of the COVID crisis. It's actually lower than it's been in the last 10 years. So that's really, really positive development on the sewer and refuse side. Now, yield on township funds. Yields have fallen off a cliff. Needless to say, everybody's seen the Federal Reserve they've gone back to quantitative easing and as well as lowering the federal funds rate to zero. So we're really getting nothing on our money right now. And also because of that, there's really no sense in tying up our funds in illiquid investments. So I'm keeping everything more or less liquid. And then in the memo, I outlined basically a basic thumbnail sketch of the schedule for the 2021 budget. I did send out these today, their budget memo, and I'll do that to the department heads later this week. But the fun is starting. That's all I have.
Thanks, John.
Can somebody ask you a question now, John?
Yep.
Okay, Michelle.
I don't have any questions. I went over all this before. I'm good.
Anybody have any questions for John? Oh, man.
No.
Good going, John.
Guess you're doing too good a job, John.
John, I have one question. I'm sorry. I have one question. The yield on the township funds, you say, is at 0.48%.
Correct.
Where is that coming from? Is it possible to get a higher yield from an online source? Like
no. So municipal deposits need to be collateralized. So basically, what that means is that for a bank to accept municipal deposits, they need to be able to put up collateral of AAA rated securities like treasuries and, AAA rated commercial paper. Actually, I don't think even commercial paper qualifies for collateralization. It has to be like treasury and things like that, of that credit rating. They have to put that up dollar for dollar against our municipal deposits. So as a result,
Not just an FDIC up to 250 kind of thing.
yeah, well, yeah. So you have the FDIC insurance up to 250, but beyond the 250, you need that collateralization. And I mean, if you're, like with federal funds rate of 0, there's not money to be found through like traditional things like treasuries and commercial paper and things. So yeah, unfortunately don't have many very good options here, and we're limited in what we can invest the money in because of the state law Act 10 that governs what we can do.
So that's the highest that's available out there is the.
Yeah, I mean, so the
0.48.
Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust, or PLGIT, is historically where you get the best return for municipal deposits, and that's at 0.48 right now. So most of our money is tied up in that, as opposed to being in regular banks.
That's actually as of this week, July 20th, that PLGIT prime rate is at 0.35%, and the CDs that are available to us, the best we could do on a 1-year CD with PLGIT is 0.25 right now on their current sheet.
Awful.
So that I just want to mention that unless Fed Chair Powell changed his briefing from the June release, the Fed intends to keep the rates at this level through the end of 21. So there is all of our expectation, particularly in local government, as John says, we are limited. Well, all our interest is going to be perhaps 1/5 of what it was next year if the Fed continues to hold true. So that's just a little background. John, thanks for that update. Thanks, Christina.
Have to hope they don't go into 0 interest rate territory.
Well, they're actually
Below 0 interest rate.
They're actually there, and in fact, there's more than one money market right now, not Vanguard, but a couple other money markets that are actually advising clients, customers, that stable $1 share could be in jeopardy after the end of this year if the rates can't improve that due to their cost expense for maintaining the fund. So that would be somewhat historic. So keep your eye on your money market fund.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, we ready to move on?
Absolutely.
Mike, you're holding us up.
With gusto, Marty, move.
The minutes I read John's minutes. Congratulate John. I find no problems with them. If anybody wants to make a motion or if they have comments on the minutes, let's do it. And David, otherwise you can make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the Board of Supervisors meeting of Tuesday, July 7th, 2020 as drafted.
I'll second it.
Is there any comments or questions from the board, from the audience? All those in favor of the motion?
Wait, public comment, Marty.
Public comment.
Oh, sorry about that. Too fast.
Yes.
Who's that, Christina?
No, it was not me.
Oh, it's
Okay,
Michelle.
no public comment. Okay.
Oh,
Go
no
ahead.
comment.
Motion
What was it?
second.
It's 5-0 vote, right?
Yep.
Okay, moving right along. Mike, have you done the treasurer stuff?
Yeah, I had to jump a little bit quick, but I've looked through it, and pending questions from my colleagues, there are a couple larger expenses that John has highlighted on his July 16th report that are expected expenses, but also inclusive of the register reflects the Act 11 arbitration award for the WeGo Police Department. That is in there. And we purchased a truck that is in the extensive batch group of batches for the different funds. I have one question for you, John. It's a very minor one. On batch 4 of 7, page 2, there's an indication here we had some fence repaired at the park due to storm damage. It was, I say only $2,250. Is that a matter where we might have submitted an insurance claim for that amount? Or
We did not submit that for insurance. I don't know the backstory on exactly what happened.
Yeah.
At some point with a ticky tack, $2,000, it comes out, we pay for it in the long run.
I get it. I just thought I'd ask. That's
Yeah.
all I have, and I'm satisfied pending comments from my colleagues.
I can tell you that's the one you're talking about. I happened to go by that right after it happened, and it was right along Paoli Pike at the Paoli Pike end of our park, and it was laid there, and we didn't get a chance to do it until John Herzog, until we got the new chipper. And once we got the new chipper, we were able to go out and take the rest of the tree down. So I want you to know that you're responsible for that tree. So you can pay the township $2,200 anytime you want.
Any other questions from any of the supervisors?
I'd like to interrupt for a second. We have a caller that just entered the meeting. Can you please state your name?
Hi, it's Caroline Hughes.
Okie dokie.
Hi,
Hello,
Caroline.
Caroline. How are you doing?
So,
Good, how are you?
pending.
Okay, let's move right along.
Mr. Chair,
Does anybody have any questions about the treasurer's report?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that we graciously accept the receipts and approve the expenditures as presented in the expenditure register and as submitted by the treasurer's report.
And I'll second that.
Let's take a motion. All those in favor of the motion, aye.
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 Was there any public comment?
Okay, yeah, that's true. Is there
No,
any
we're
public
good.
comment on the treasurer's report? Seeing none, I'll take the.
No, you're
go right
good.
Back to our.
John,
Let's
thank you.
take our
for the
vote
report
on
as
ours.
well.
Aye.
Appreciate it.
Has everybody voted?
Yeah,
No.
we're done.
5-0? 5-0 then. Okie dokie.
It's in Hawaii.
Yes.
Marty, John Herzog. May I interrupt a second?
Yes.
I just took a call from Guy Donatelli, and he would be happy to represent us at the meeting tomorrow at 2:00 at a rate of one.
John, we already took care of that. You might not have known that.
Oh,
You
he
don't
might
really
not
have
have been
to-
on.
You don't have to talk
I
about
wasn't,
that.
I was on a phone call.
We already took a motion on that, so we don't have to go to the alternatives. David made the motion, and if Donatoni was willing to do it, we were willing to have him do it. So we're all set up now.
John,
Rick,
that's that's
Thanks for interrupting me, Marty. Let me continue and say, I
that's
asked
okay.
him about his rate, and he said it was $170 an hour.
that is terrific.
I thought you'd think so.
Oh, that's
That is
tremendous.
terrific.
Thank you, John.
John,
Thanks,
thanks for
John.
that update and jumping right on that. I appreciate it.
Don, I'm sorry for interrupting. I must tell you, I do not hear you. So unfortunately, I kind of guess when you're starting and stopping. I just can't, for some reason, I just can't hear you. I don't know what the
I'm
problem
sorry
is.
about that. I'm praying that they get that computer into you on by Thursday.
Amen,
I'll make a motion to second that.
Yeah.
amen, amen.
It's been weeks now. Let's get it done.
Next.
All right.
The next item is the only old business items. Either Rick or David or
So-
John has to acknowledge the update on the geophysical therapy.
No, we got the information from PennDOT, and so we forwarded everything off to Pannoni, and we're waiting for their geologists to come back to us with their review of the data. And I'll share with you that at some point, PennDOT's going to come back out again and have them do another radar test. So,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Okay, good.
Is there a reason for that?
They just felt that PennDOT said they needed to do one once everything was done and the construction was complete. So now that that pipe is in the ground for the last couple months, they're going to come back out again at some point.
Good. Good.
David or anybody else, are you guys all right with that?
Yeah.
I assume you are.
Yeah, that's good. I reread the 35-page report today, and there were some anomalies and there were still some questions. So it's good that they're going to follow up and do a third study. That's great.
Okay.
Excellent. Right.
That's that's beautiful. I would think that everybody would be okay with that.
All right.
Okay, that takes care of that little item.
Do we need to have any public comment on that or no?
No.
No, there's no, we don't have to take a motion. We don't have to make a vote.
Nope. That was a good announcement, though. Good. Thank you.
They can wait to the end, and they can certainly ask a question at the
yeah.
end.
Yep. Yep.
The next item is from the Futures Committee. You have their, what they would call their, sort of their guiding agenda. Brian's in the audience, isn't he?
Yes,
Tom.
he is.
Brian,
So it's Tom.
Brian, do you want to say anything about this? Because this is very similar to what the board saw before, minus one item.
Yeah, I think Tom was going to probably lead off. On
Oh, is
the-
Tom here?
Tom's muted. There you
Am
go.
I okay now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, just real briefly here, and we've had some changes in our committee too, so I just wanted to give you a brief update on that. You guys know Rod Vaughn. I think Rod had planned on being on the call tonight, but he was unable to make it at the last minute. Brian's on, and you all know Brian. He joined our group at the beginning of the year. You may not know our two newest members, Brandon Groff and Jeff O'Donnell. These are two young men with families who are fairly new residents, and they plan to raise their families here and are interested in the future of the township. So we've been really happy to have them on the committee, and really all three, including Brian, have been adding new insights and energy to our committee. So we thank them very much for their contribution. So why are we asking you to adopt this long-term strategy statement? The comprehensive plan and the Paoli Pike Corridor Master Plan provide a map of future projects and activities the township needs to undertake to become a premier community. And this is something our residents desire. Premier communities provide the amenities home buyers are seeking. At the same time, these amenities result in increasing property values. So our long-term plans were developed by many volunteer residents after significant discussion and vetting at a number of community meetings. These documents are, however, lengthy documents, and I doubt if many residents have read them. I assume that all the board has read them, and I think that is the case, but I don't think too many other people have. The long-term strategy statement we are proposing captures the leveraging components of these plans in a concise one-paragraph statement. Now, East Goshen already has much to be proud of. Past supervisors, township staff, and other volunteer leaders have had the vision to provide us with exceptional parks and recreational programs, beautiful neighborhoods, and varied housing options and open space, a vibrant business park, and much more. The Futures Committee feels that the proposed long-term strategy statement can excite and guide township residents and leaders for the next 10 plus years. And we hope that you agree and will adopt this statement and vision as a guide for the future of East Goshen Township. Thank you very much. And Brian, I don't know, did you want to add anything, Brian?
No, Tom, you nailed it. Thank you.
Okay, great.
As liaison to that group, I want to tell the board that is really a good group of people that they have there that are really forward-thinking people, and we're very lucky to have them. And I believe that we're the only township that has a Futures Committee, and they do really a nice job. One of the things the board has, they had, at the meeting they just had last week, they spent a lot of time with, I can't think of who was there. It was somebody from the Planning Commission.
Ernie Hankin.
Yeah, Ernie was there, and they spent a lot of time talking about what we've asked them to do with respect to looking at the corporate parks. And they are trying to determine who's going to do what to whom, and they're in the process of doing that. Also, from the board's perspective, one of the things that you're going to have to be talking about in the not too distant future, and I think it was referenced in the long range planning session, and that is whether or not you're going to update the comprehensive plan. You do not have to, but if you're going to, then you have to go through the motions and get the money from the county if possible, and so forth and so on. part of what they're going to do, they're going to be a really significant part of that, in my opinion, because you're talking about the future. You're talking about the current plus 10 years or 15 years. So it becomes a very big thing for the supervisors that are going to be around to recognize exactly, what your position, what you think your position should be, bearing in mind that unfortunately, when you do the comprehensive plan, it's not what your position is, it's what's the resident's position is. And part of what you got in your material was something from Tom that dealt with surveys, and those surveys are very helpful in determining what your residents want. And they spend a little bit of time talking about that too. And that may become a big thing going forward, to find out on a periodic basis what the residents really want. Because the fact that you're here and have a certain position doesn't mean it's the same as everybody else. So somehow you got to figure out what the people want, and then you decide what you want to do in the comprehensive plan or whatever you're doing, if you need to do that. So that will be something that not probably maybe a year or two out, or maybe less. John, do you think that you got to be thinking about whether or not you want to do that or not? And if so, what's the role of the Futurist Committee, which I suspect will be significant. But Tom does a great job in leadership. Brian's there every meeting. They always have everybody there, and they do a very good job. So I just want to thank them on behalf of all you guys and Michelle for the work that they do. I have seen this many times. I do not have a problem with the way they have worded this now. Originally, I don't think there's anybody here but me that was aware of the fact that there was a town center name in here, and we didn't want that. The board didn't want that to happen at this stage of the game, so it was removed. So everything else is basically what they think they should be focusing on going forward, and I second that. But it's just my opinion. Others may have a different opinion. So I would suggest that if you haven't seen this before, we may want to postpone this till the next meeting or the meeting after that before we take any action, because you really should see this and read it to make sure that you're in sync with it, because it's going to become very important as we move down the path here in the next few years. Would you agree
Marty,
with that, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's Michelle. I have a couple of questions here.
Go ahead.
I'm just curious to know why this would be taking any more precedence over the TND overlay that was proposed last year. And quite frankly, we had discussed and made a decision as a board that we should be tabling all these controversial issues until such time we're in a public forum where the public can actually weigh in as they should be able to.
This doesn't have anything to do with a TND. I can tell you that. Well, the thing is,
but it does. I mean, it just doesn't say TND. It says creates town center with a strong sense of identity, gathering place, green space, public plazas, restaurants, specialty shops, modest amount of housing. It's just worded differently. And so I would actually propose, I will make a motion right now to table this until such time we're meeting in public with the public in front of us.
Okay.
I would second that motion.
I don't read it the same way you do. I know what they have in mind. But if you read it that way, that's fine. If there's is there a second to the motion?
I second the motion, Marty.
Okay. Is there, the board members have any comments on this? Michelle,
Yeah,
yours is a point.
I'm fully supportive of this as the way it's written.
Yeah.
And I've voiced my opinion before about surveys about home buyers and what they're looking for. They're looking for, number one, open space. Number two, they're looking for recreational trails. We've got both of those. The third thing they're looking for is a town center, a place where they can meet and gather. And if you want to talk about maintaining home values, we have aging inventory in East Goshen. There's building going on all around us. Eventually, it's going to draw people away from East Goshen into a more I don't know, community-friendly type environments. I don't think we're threatened that we're going to look like West Whiteland Township.
That's my dog having a hissy fit downstairs.
Like what I'm
I
saying.
don't know what she sees, but she sees something and she's going
So-
nuts.
So bottom line is I'm fully supportive of this vision the way it's written.
Well, again, I think that we need to have public input. I think that another consideration is amending the comprehensive plan to allow for the changes that have already occurred as a result of that comprehensive plan. And I think that, again, that needs to be done in a public forum as well, where the public has the ability to meet us face to face.
Okay, that's Michelle's position. David, Mike, do you have a position?
Well, my comments are, the word vision has been used, strategy is used here. I have dollar signs next to a number of these.
Yeah.
That there's no commitment for dollar signs, and yet there are implications in this.
Yeah.
Is this a vision or is this a strategy? If it's a strategy, it starts to set in motion these type of activities. I'm leaning with in this regard to the current circumstances we're under with the CV-19 and isolation from our residents in a personal setting where we can be together in a room and share information. So I'm not ready to act upon this at this point in time. And that's just where I stand. So if I'll either abstain from the motion at this point in time, or that's my thought at the moment. I'm not ready to act on this relative to the current environment we're in, and based on some of these statements that are in this confined atmosphere where we don't get a chance to air them out completely. Vision, okay. Strategy is a different word, has a different connotation to me, and I'm not ready to go along with that at this point in time as a strategy. If it's built into a update of the comprehensive plan, and that becomes part of the conversation, I agree with Marty that the Futures Committee is an important element in the comprehensive plan. This is a future horizon document, but I think that could be part of the discussion in the comp plan update, and that's a big deal. That's a long extended process, and that we're looking at an 18-month process to update the comprehensive plan at the least. It just is, I'm confused with the language relative to what it is. It's a vision, and it's things that the Futures Committee wants to continue to pursue and to investigate, perhaps survey, what have you. I know that there are some who are not fans of surveys. I appreciated the document that was distributed on surveys. I think that there is a deliberative survey process that Stanford University has worked on that is a tiered approach to creating an effective survey with focus groups that then refine survey questions to get a broader sense of what the community may be interested in. There are a whole lot of those things. So coming back to it, vision, absolutely interested in envisioning and further discussing those at the Futures Committee level. I'm supportive of, but as a strategy we're going to pursue, I'm not comfortable with that at this point in time, under the circumstances and based upon new board members that have indicated concerns with some of these elements, and until we have an opportunity to fully engage our citizens one way or another, survey or focus groups, what have you. So that's kind of some of my meandering comment on it.
All right, thanks, Mike. Tom, do you want to address Mike's points?
Yeah, I'll try. I kind of think right now we've got this COVID thing going on, and people are, they're nervous. Nobody knows what the future is going to be. I certainly don't. But I think it would be energizing for the township to say, hey, we're going to get over this eventually. I'm pretty convinced of that. It might be a year, it might be 2 years, whoever knows. I don't know exactly how long it'll be. But I think something like this could energize the town, East Goshen Township, and say, hey, look, we're going to get through this thing, just like we did back in 2010 when the whole financial market fell through the dumper. I mean, right after that, we ended up doing a trail. We ended up doing, some projects. I'm sure that project that you guys did back in 2000 for the whole Applebrook thing was not an easy thing, and so there's not much left really from my perspective in the future of East Goshen Township. I mean, like I say, we've got great parks, we've got great neighborhoods. The only thing that's lacking is kind of improving that area along Paoli Pike, the Paoli Pike corridor. You call it a town center. That town center, I think, gets us in trouble. My wife says it's really a village center because we're not really anticipating anything like Exton or anything else. We're anticipating something that over time will look, consistent with the rest of the township. And I don't want to get into the T&D because I know there's different opinions on that. And to me, that's a little bit of that's a detail that needs to be worked out. But there's a lot of things that can be improved in that corridor that I think a lot of people would agree with. And we'd like to see that kind of vision strategy captured. And that was captured in, as I said, it's already been captured in a detailed master plan for the Paoli Pike corridor, which had a lot of public hearings and had a lot of public input. So, 2 years later, I guess we're just going to throw that out the window, I guess would be my answer to that.
Well, thank you, Tom. One of the unfortunate things is with some of these longer term, longer range planning efforts and exercises is that because they take so long to implement, change comes into a community, whether it is incited or stirred up or just becomes enlightened to a different way of looking at things. And in that regard, when these are extended over a long period of time, you run the risk of the relevancy to some, and that has come under question. I do believe, and I've said it before, that the location of Paoli Pike, the portion between 352 and Boot Road, needs some land use improvement. I'm not going to use any words like town center or even village per se, let alone TND, but there are land use regulations that would be beneficial to your opportunity to develop or redevelop some of that in a comfortable way. And if you want to use the word village, fine, but that I will continue to say that is a valued pursuit along that portion of the Paoli Pike corridor. The matter of whether in this environment and how long it goes on or not, or later on after we are so-called cleared, I do see a value in as difficult as they are, and it's impossible to remove bias from anything. I am interested in a broader survey for residents. How we do it, I'm not quite sure, but that would, to me, be an area of resource that I would be willing to support an expenditure to make that happen. I don't think that the comprehensive plan survey that was done with the last comprehensive plan was extensive of a response as I would like to see. And I know that's always a challenge. Yeah, that's just a continuing stream of thought from me on it from Tom. And
John Herzog, I didn't forget you. It was just, it took a long time to get to you. You want to make your comments?
Party. I'm with Mike on this. For me, it comes down to finances. I want to see numbers. I want to see costs before we go ahead with this stuff. And frankly, I think we've picked the worst time in the world to talk about something that's going to bring people together.
John, you're fading out.
Yeah, I can't hear John.
We're in the middle of a coronavirus. I don't want to really talk about something that's going to bring more and more people together. But my concern is the costs. I want to see costs before we do anything.
Okay, I'll give you my own thoughts because I'm the last one in line here. This, to me, I don't know. I guess everybody has their own idea of what this represents. this is a vision I would use, if you want to use that word, Mike, as opposed to a strategy. It's a vision of what they think they should be working on when you look at the future. And it doesn't mean they're going to do anything now, because it's not up to them to do something. It's up to them to provide information, to give ideas and that kind of thing. Only the supervisors can decide what they want to do, when they want to do it, and spend whatever money they're going to spend, if they want to spend it at all. It will come to pass. I will give my own opinion. It is important to know what the residents want. What I want as an individual, or what anybody else wants as an individual, is absolutely irrelevant to what the needs of the people are. They could be and the problem with that is, if you came on the board, or you've been on the board, whatever, and you think that your vote has to be based on your idea, I don't think it's not going to wear well. It's very difficult to take a look at what is best for East Goshen Township, not what is best for Marty Shane or Dave Shuey or Michelle or anybody else. It doesn't matter. It only matters what the people want, and the only way you can find that out is you've got to do some kind of a survey or some kind of a way of asking, because otherwise you can't assume anything. So as far as the Futures Committee is concerned, I don't have a problem with what they're saying, that this is what they believe that they should be working on at this stage of the game, or that's what the township should be thinking about. It doesn't mean that we're going to go out and put the poles up or the flags up or the lights up or anything else. That's our choice to do that. There's nothing in this that I know of that's controversial. I mean, I've seen them talk about it. I've been in meetings where they've talked about it. I've seen it before. I've seen it when Rob was there at meetings. It's what they should do as a long-range planning group to help the township. I don't see a problem with this. I'm more in David's position than I am anything else, because I think the township needs something like this. I think Tom is right when he characterizes the middle of this township does not give the rest of the township a fair look. And I think that the trail and what goes with it over time will really be an asset to the township, not a liability. But that remains to be seen, because we won't know until it happens. And I will not be here, and I doubt if anybody else is going to be here when that happens. So I think that they're on the right track, but it's clearly up to us to decide what we're going to spend and when we're going to spend it. This has nothing to do with that.
Well,
This has more to do with in the long range. These are the kind of things that should happen. And I'm sort of glad that they put this together, because if you're going to undertake the next go round of the comprehensive plan, you're going to need something like this as a talking point.
Exactly.
And you're going to have to find out what the people want when
Exactly.
you really want, and so forth and so on.
But
So
Marty's-
I'm with David, but there is a motion on the floor, and we're going to have to take a vote. And there isn't anybody there's nobody that's on this board now that not voting is not appropriate.
Well,
Because the only time you can recluse yourself is when you have a direct benefit. You can't, just the fact that you don't want to vote for something isn't a reason not to vote for something.
Well, we also have to open it up to the public.
well, I've got
Yeah.
more comment. So when you're ready, I'm going to make more comment. I'm not ready to vote.
Well,
We still
wait a
need-
minute,
we
there's a
still need
motion on the
public
floor.
comment.
You have to vote
Public
yea or nay.
comment.
Well, wait a
Hello?
minute. I have more comments. So before we let the public in here, first of all, words are one thing in a stream, as we're doing right now. When you put it to paper, they're important because they set a document and they set a legacy of there it is, it's in paper.
Yeah.
When you develop a vision, it's sometimes referred to as a mission of what you want the organization to be and to do. Once you have the vision, you can develop a strategy or a broad plan that outlines how you'll achieve the vision, i.e. perhaps a comprehensive plan update. and so the vision of the Futures Committee can be incorporated into a comp plan update. Once you have the strategy then, i.e. maybe it's a comp plan update, you can decide on the tactics or the specific actions you're going to take to employ the strategy and reach your vision. That's the way I see it. This is not, if it's a strategy statement here, I'm not ready to go with that. If it's a vision, it can be incorporated. The Futures Committee continue to do their work. And as we come together with a plan update, a comp plan update down the road, then we can develop it into a strategy if it moves through the comp plan process. And then as part of the comp plan, there's always action items. And that's where you start to look at the tactics of how you're going to actionize and ultimately reach the vision. So I think it's an important sequence, and I don't think we should lose sight of it, particularly if you're going to adopt something that is put on paper that gets pointed to later.
Yeah, I think that's a good comment.
I'm going to tell you that in response to that, many years ago, probably 15, maybe even more than that, we had all the ABCs in here, and someplace there's a thing hanging up. That's the vision and the mission and all that kind of stuff of the township. This was in vogue at the time. I think it's a good one. What you just said, Mike, we should take a look at that, because if that's not right, that's the vision for the township. That's us seeing the vision for the township, however we got there. This is a vision for them, not a vision for us or anything else. This is what they think should occur. Now, if you're not ready to vote on it, it means your vote is no. You have to vote. That's what we're paid to do. We're paid to vote. Unless you've got a financial interest in this thing, it's the only time you can't vote, or you shouldn't. You step aside. It's a very difficult situation. It's going to, in itself, it's going to be a controversial thing, because I'm going to tell you, I know the work that went into the comprehensive plan, whether it's enough work or not enough work. It was a hell of a lot of work. The problem is it takes a long time.
Yes.
I would suspect there's several people on this board are not going to be around when the comprehensive plan is being considered updated, unless they're in the audience. So I understand it's going to happen. But even if it started now, some of us are not going to be here by the time it's ended. And so whether or not we're at the right thing, I would suggest that everybody, the supervisors, take a look at what we generated way back when, because it's pretty good. But if it's not what we think we should be, we should change it now. And then the others, ABCs, should be feeding into that. And that's the way I look at it. And as far as what goes on, I'm in sync with David.
I'm a little persuaded by Michael's comments, and so I would ask Tom and Brian a question. I guess if they're asking the board, would we be voting on adopting this as a long-term strategy statement, or would we be adopting this as a long-term vision statement of the Futures Committee?
No, what we're asking is that you adopt this as a long-term strategy for the township. We have it. It's already our long-term strategy, but it doesn't really mean much. There's just 5 of us. You guys are the only ones that have votes that count, and so you're the leadership of the township. So if you don't want to endorse it, you don't want to endorse it. That's fine. You go on and do something else.
I can
Appreciate that. That's a straight answer. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, thank you. I can say that if the Futures Committee wants to pursue these things as a vision, I can be supportive of that. But a strategy, I'm not ready to do that at this point in time. And I would offer this at this moment, whether or not the John, I think, who has made the motion, whether he would consider an amendment, a friendly amendment to that motion to, at this point in time tonight, table that for further discussion and rumination amongst our own minds, and maybe come back and discuss this at the next meeting. And in the meantime, the Futures Committee can see whether or not there are any words that they want to consider. So that I just put that out there.
Mike, that was the motion. The motion was to.
Well then, okay, I'm going to, if that's the motion, I'm going to probably go along then with Michelle and John at this point in time, which is unfortunate because it does have to do with, while it may be syntax, it does have to do, words do have specific meanings. And I think using the word strategy
Yes.
I can't agree with this as a strategy. As a vision for the Futures Committee, continue to pursue and develop, that's fine. But as a strategy, I can't support that at this point in time as a strategy statement.
Don't by definition, we have to redo the comp plan then? Because this is just basically what's in the comp plan. This is just a conciseness
No.
of, I think, isn't
No.
it? Or did I
No.
miss something?
The comprehensive plan doesn't, you don't have to amend the comprehensive plan unless you want to at any time. I mean, we only have to do it, we don't ever have to do it, actually.
It's not a mandate. It's not a legislative mandate that we.
It's not a mandate. We can put it on the shelf for 50 years and not look at it again and not even dust it. But the fact is that we can look at it if we want to. We would have to amend it. We might need to come up with an amendment process so that we don't necessarily have to redo the entire comprehensive plan.
Yeah,
that's something for another day. But I made the motion to table this issue until such time we could have public input in its entirety, as we're in a public venue again with the public present, and we need to now also hear what the public has to say.
Tom, I think you made an interesting point. This is already included in the comprehensive plan, which has already been adopted by the board supervisors of East Goshen Township. So, what you're requesting here is just a kind of an affirmation of an existing part of our comprehensive plan. Which
let me ask you a question. Do you think we captured the essence of the comp plan in this statement, or are we reaching beyond that?
I don't know that. I have to go back and look at the plan. It's sitting right here on my floor.
Likewise, I would have to go back, and that's a good reason to table it because I'd have to go back and look at it. But I have to say, as a member of the board, I was not on the board at the time the comprehensive.
Neither was I.
I think I'm the only one at the time.
This is a completely different board.
Okay, well, can I ask you guys to do one thing? Is give us some direction on what we should be working on then in regard to this, or anything else regarding this? Just abandon it or keep working it, or?
No, Tom, all we're talking about is tabling it and considering it further. If there's something that you take away from this meeting, if there's something you take away from this meeting that you think you can make an improvement on what you've already written, that would probably be a good idea.
And we have public here who would probably like to weigh in.
Well, wait a minute. I want to say, I'm going to finish up by saying one thing. That what was just said is fine and dandy. However, that if you listen to that carefully, that what needs to be done, because they're taking, by their own admission, they're taking out what they think is the key components of the comprehensive plan that was done a few years ago, and maybe the master plan of Paoli Pike. If that's not relevant anymore, then it's absolutely mandatory that you update the comprehensive plan. It's not a question of leaving it sit in place, because that's the plan that's in place now. So if that's not good, and that's what Tom's saying, if that's not good, because he's telling you that they picked out what they thought was the key components of the master of the plan, you have to go through an updated comprehensive plan. You don't have any choice, because otherwise this one stays in place, and that's the one you're working off of.
That may be a very good point, Marty. And in that case, then this current, I'm going to call it vision, which needs to be restated, should be tabled. And maybe we start to discuss as a board in the next week or months meetings ahead whether or not a comprehensive plan update is of merit, and including a broader survey of the residents. And look at the big issues that we're facing in this country right now. Well, let's talk about monuments and the changing face of the culture there. Let's talk about policing and the changing face of the culture and the ripples it's sending all the way down to us even. So here's
Yes.
another circumstance where we've had some changes apparently in our populace, and we don't exactly know. We know some people have showed up at the meeting, but we don't know the tenor of the population right now. And so you could be right. An update to the comprehensive plan could be warranted. So hold on to your hats. It could be a long, bumpy ride, but maybe you're right. That's where we go.
Can I just make
I
one
think
other,
that's the only place to go. You don't
can
have
I
a
just
choice.
make, can I make another statement?
Sure.
One of the things that I noticed during the beginning of the COVID was I reacquainted myself with all the people in our neighborhood that I hadn't seen for years, hadn't talked to and whatnot. And I saw a lot of people doing that in the park and all through the township. And I think going forward, people just crave that. And that's what we're trying to capture. Maybe these words don't capture that, but that's what we're trying to capture in that area along Paoli Pike between 352 and Boot Road. We're trying to create a place where people can run into their neighbors, you know, maybe enjoy a cup of coffee outside. I don't think we're going to be stuck outside forever. And maybe even inside, you know, at a nice little lunch place, attract some restaurants. That's what we're trying to capture. Now, maybe we're not capturing that right, but that's the essence of what we're trying to do. And to me, what I just saw in the beginning of this COVID thing, where people shut down, is they're reaching out to try and reconnect with neighbors, because people aren't traveling. They're not traveling as much anymore, and they want to be able to do that in their own neighborhoods, in their own township. So anyway, that's just my thinking.
Yeah,
Other
I
people who
don't
wanna
disagree with you
weigh
all.
in?
So, I would rather, I feel more comfortable. We have a motion on the floor, and it's not, don't want to table the motion. We don't want the motion to pass, and then we'll go something else. But I mean, either something else that's on the agenda or something else that's about this. But I don't think we should just table the thing, because table the thing means you're going to bring it back at some point. You have no idea when you're going to do that. And if you're going to start getting input from residents and stuff, that takes a lot of thinking. So I would suggest that
Are residents allowed to
it's
speak
probably
now?
based on what everybody's saying. It's pretty obvious what the vote is going to be. So we'll just make a vote and be done with it. And when it comes back again, resurfaces again, it resurfaces. The next meeting of the Futures Committee will be very interesting.
It's a shame to knock this down, but I think it's not worded the way I'd like to see it, and it's only a component of indicated, Marty, where we may need to go. And okay, you in the prior years before I was on the board, this board took on a lot of big infrastructure projects and took a lot of energy, a lot of long-term planning and activity and engagement. Well, maybe that's where we are now, and we're going to go ahead with the comp plan update over the next 15, 18 months. That's where I stand. I mean, that's where we are, because I don't want to discount.
Well, that's not what Michelle's motion is. So we'll just take a vote on it and be done with it. And if when the next thing resurfaces, it resurfaces.
Marty, you
It's
need
like anything-
Marty, you need public comment.
I will. I'm just trying to figure out if the board's
Okay,
done.
but Michelle's motion is to table it until the board is having a regular public meeting where people can attend.
No, I didn't hear the table part. It's
That-
sometimes
that's-
hard to hear.
That's the motion, to table the matter until the board has a public meeting where people can attend at the township building or some other venue.
Well, then, if that's the motion, that's the
So
motion.
the next part is to get
Whatever it is, I think we should vote on it. There's a motion and a second on the floor. So,
public comment, Marty.
yeah, as long as the board's done, we're done commenting on it. Rick told us what the motion was. That's what it is. And I'll ask for anybody, it's in the,
The public is
Susan
uncommented.
can-
Yeah, they're
Susan can
uncommented.
let
They're ready to go.
Susan
Mhm.
can let the visitors through the door.
Okay, hello, this is
Go
Leo
ahead, Leo.
Sinclair. Okay, yes. First of all, thank you, Michael, for mentioning about a survey. Back in December, I said that very thing. I said that we need a survey. I look at this document, and basically what I see here is it's the same game. It's just a different picture and a different facade, but it's the same thing, okay? When a duck quacks and a duck walks, it's a duck. I see the word center in here twice, the township center, which right away tells me, okay, that draws me right back to the overlay. And I can sit here and nitpick every single word in here and probably get you right back to that same conclusion. Now, here's something I want to bring forward. There's a lot of people in this township that are totally against this. Okay, they would be totally against this for so many different reasons, which I couldn't even sit here for hours reiterating what they would have to say. However, I will just simply narrow it down to something very simple. First of all, is the future committee telling us, the residents of East Goshen, what we want? Or did the residents of East Goshen say, this is what we want? Because right now what I'm hearing is this is a vision solely from the futuristic committee dictating what they think we want. The sad fact about that is I own my home here in East Goshen. My wife and I lived here for over 16 years. We love it here, okay? Now let's go back to the park. The reason why the park was bought and saved was to prevent an industry from coming in, okay? There was talks about, I think it was Pfizer wanted to come in and plop their facility in there, and people said, hell no, we don't want that. We love our township the way it is now. We love its essence as it is today. To simply say you want a town center in the middle of what we currently have is meaning you're going to change that essence, okay? Instead of a corporate park, you're going to have a city block, okay? We don't want that, okay? And I think I'm speaking for a lot of people here in East Goshen when I say that. Again, I can go on and on, but the bottom line is this. If I have a home here in East Goshen and I have somebody out there telling me, hey, look, the future buyer wants a big bathroom. They don't want garages. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to destroy your garage. You're going to make it into a playroom or whatever. You're going to take your master bedroom and cut it in half and put a big bathroom in there. Oh, wait, by the way, this is going to cost you a lot of money, but don't worry about it because, see, you'll get this money back because these people are going to buy that home from you. And I'm thinking to myself, well, hell no. I might as well just cut bait and get out. And the sad fact about it is many residents here in East Goshen have lived here for a very long time. And to have somebody come in and say, hey, we're new here, but this is what we want, and you're going to do it. It's pretty sad, in my opinion, that we're going to push our current residents out of our town that we made our town. One last point. I've traveled around the world. I've seen many beautiful countries and many beautiful cities. Last year I was out in Germany, and I went through Rothenburg. Rothenburg was saved during World War II. Guess what? It is probably one of the hottest spots to visit in Germany. Why? Because it's history. As the rest of the country has redeveloped multiple times over, Rothenburg has still got its old charm, the charm that people love. And last point, here in Chester County, how many townships have a town center? Most of the townships I know don't have a town center, and they're thriving, okay? People love it the way it is. People, when they talk about a town center, first thing on their mind is Westchester Borough, okay? That's where they want to go. That's their hub, okay? We're a big wheel. Chester County is a big wheel. Each of the townships are spindles, and in the middle is the hub, and that's Westchester. That's the meeting point. Wow. I mean, there's so many things to be said. The bottom line is it comes back to a survey, a concrete, thorough survey. Ask every resident what they want. And you know what? I'll tell you right now, if I were on the board, because frankly, a board member is an elected official of all the people, is representative of the vote, if the majority of people came back and said, you know what, yeah, we want this change, then I'll be the first person to stand up behind it and say, then let's do the change. But until then, I don't see that. What I see is the various individuals who are trying to dictate what they want at the whim of all the people who live here and who've lived here for a longer time, and I don't think it's fair. Sorry, but thank you.
Hey,
Anybody else up there,
I'd
Susan?
just like to respond to Leo's comment. Leo, I'm a resident of 25 years here. So it's not like I just moved in yesterday. And my daughter's a resident of 15 years. So we have some history here also. Thank you.
Hi, this is Christina. I would like to first say that I support Marty 100% in saying that this vision statement, although I hesitate to call it that because it clearly says that it's a strategy statement, really does need to reflect what the residents want. And again, like you said, that only can come through a survey tool. I do appreciate, Mr. Kilburn, the fact that many people worked on this over several years and that work should not go unnoticed. But I think that we do all have to finally come to the realization that even the best of plans do become outdated at some point. And I think that this board has heard now enough times that there have been several sentinel events that have occurred in this township, namely the pipeline building and now COVID, which have really transformed the nature of the township. And those have not been incorporated into the comprehensive plan. And when we talked during the long-term planning session during the board, that's when it was recommended that we push up the date for revising the comprehensive plan. So I hope that that really does, it sounds like that's really gonna now more aggressively be discussed and take shape. The other thing that I don't see on here or has not been discussed at all is how the Futurist Committee may have worked with any other committees in the township to put this together. So I don't know if there was any consultation that was done, but it certainly wasn't described here at all, like what other committees you might have worked with. I know I myself, the first time that I went to the Planning Commission, when they were presenting the TND overlay, I asked one simple question, which was, how did you incorporate the risk assessment for the pipeline into your plans? And all I got was blank stares. So I would like to know, you don't have to answer it right now, but I would like to know what due diligence the Futurist Committee did in taking into consideration the massive infrastructure project that's going on right now, the pipeline. Did you look at the risk assessment when you were making this strategy statement? And if not, would you be willing to come to the pipeline task force and sit in some of our meetings, work with some of our members as you work on your new strategy statement going forward? Finally, I would just say to the board, if this comes up again and you are asked by the Futurist Committee to adopt a strategy plan on behalf of the entire township that reflects the direction that this township is going to go, I would suggest that you have the requirement that it is signed off on by the other committees, sustainability, pipeline task force, historical commission, conservancy, to show that it has been circulated and reviewed by all the other boards, and that they have said, yeah, we have given input to this and we approve of this, and this has our mark of approval. Now it's ready for the board. Because as I look at this, there's a lot of red flags that I see just from my own perspective of being on the pipeline task force. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else up there? I say up there, I'm thinking that everybody's here. Is anybody else, is anybody up, want to say something, Susan?
There's no more public comment, no.
No more public comment?
No.
Okay, well, we have a motion on the floor. Ricky clarified what it was. I don't know how we're gonna, it says what, Mike, you want it to say, so I think we have to take a vote. You can vote whatever way you want, unless somebody's gonna override it. I will call the question. I will ask all those in favor of the vote, of the motion that Michelle made.
Can I hear the motion again? I want to hear the motion again.
The motion is, Michelle made a motion to table this matter until we're able to meet again in person. John second.
Okay, that's basically to table the motion like we've done all the other controversial issues, and till we get released from the pandemic thing.
I vote
So,
aye.
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 No.
No.
I'm no.
3-2. Motion carries.
3-2. Mike, did Mike vote?
Yes,
Yes.
I voted
three?
for the motion.
Okay, 3-2. Okay, that takes care of that. Ooh, that took a long time.
I would like to say in a postscript to the motion that our future discussion entail a discussion of the comprehensive plan update, but because that's where I'm headed now.
Agreed.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. All right,
Oh, you have to, I don't think there's any doubt about that.
okay. Thank you.
Because
Thank-
obviously, what they have projected isn't what at least some of the people on the board doesn't think is gonna happen. We're just gonna have to figure out what everybody wants, what the
Yep.
township wants.
I would also like to make a comment, and I don't want Tom and Brian and the Futures Committee to be discouraged by that vote. I think the idea of the Futures Committee is to look into the future. I'd actually like to see our banner behind the desk changed. Right now, it says protecting the future. I don't know how you do that. I think that should be changed to planning the future. And I think that's part of what the Futures Committee is all about. It's about that vision. It's about collecting data. It's about, making sure that we're a sustainable community going forward. And I commend Tom and his group on the work that they do. And I want them to continue to do that and not be discouraged by the vote that was just taken.
I agree 100%, David. Excellent comment. And I'm sincerely in line with that comment.
They're big people, and they do a good job, and I think that will happen. David had mentioned what he just said to me months ago, and I was wondering when he was going to bring it up. I personally think that what he suggested in terms of that banner that's behind, and it shows up other places too, I do think planning is a better word in there. If people agree with that, then we ought to go about changing that. If they don't, then we won't. But two of us do. I think you are planning for the future here. You're not protecting the future.
I don't even know how you protect the future.
Well, you bring out your old muskets.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what you do either. I like the word, but that's for another time and another place. We'll put that on the agenda.
Well, I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the public comment. Certainly Brian and Tom, and of course, Mr. Vaughn is not available, and so I missed hearing his voice, but I agree. Again, I just want to reiterate exactly what David had said. I agree completely, and I don't want you to be discouraged, even though you might not have appreciated necessarily what my thoughts were tonight.
They'll just cuss everybody out at the next meeting, so don't feel bad about it, boys.
Well, I'll get my share when I get home anyway, so I'm used to it.
Okay, let's move along to the designation of the agent for the FEMA reimbursement.
Yeah, this is very
There's been a
straightforward.
motion made. There's been a
Marty?
suggestion. Yes, yeah.
It's a very straightforward matter. In order to, as you know, the county was awarded a substantial amount of funds for the CARES Act. However, when we asked the county about how to go about applying for reimbursements for our COVID-related expenses, we were encouraged, instead of going through the CARES Act funding, which the county is trying to use for small businesses, to go through a PIMA and FEMA grant program. We have about $19,000 in COVID-related expenses. To submit a grant application through the FEMA website, we have to basically designate authorize the township manager to designate Barb Phillips as our agent in order to fill out that form. There's a recommended motion there.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we authorize, accept the recommendation of John Alshaw and Rick Smith, that we authorize the township manager, Rick Smith, to designate Barb Phillips, staff accountant, as the township's agent on the PIMA DAP1 form in order to seek reimbursement for COVID-related township expenses as indicated.
Is there a second?
Now,
I'll
second.
second it.
I'd like to just make one comment. I'd like to thank John and staff for ferreting out the expenses incurred. It's a good job.
And, and thanks, David. And I just have one question, John. Is this CV19 grant, is this open once we apply for this grant, but we have more expenses incurred in the next 6 months or 8 months or a year?
Yeah, my understanding is that it's rolling.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I read about what the county wants to do. I suspect that's what they're going to do, and it's probably going to blank out most of the local communities. I suspect that they may not want to do that because it gets to be very controversial. You got this and somebody else got that and all that kind of stuff. So having been on the planning commission for a while, I can see where they're going with what they want to do. So I support that motion. There was a second. David made the second.
Yep,
Is
we're
there
good to
anybody else
go,
who wants
Marty.
to anybody else want to make a comment on the board?
No, I think
Is
we
there
just need to get public comment on it if they have any
Yes,
questions.
I'm going to go up there now.
Is that
Is
it?
there any public comment on this particular item?
Doesn't look like it. Yeah, sorry, Leo.
No, actually, I just one quick question. Can we get the itemized breakdown of the 18,000?
Sure.
You mean, how we spend it, you mean?
No, it'll be part of the grant application, and that'll be a public.
Oh, right. Okay, good enough.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks,
Is that
Leo.
all? Okay, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Unanimous. The next is,
Thanks, Rick.
the next we've taken care of
No,
already.
we haven't, Marty.
We haven't?
The next item, Marty, is for the the board to authorize you to serve, to execute the traffic signal modification agreements or applications
sorry.
that got submitted to
I
PennDOT.
jumped ahead again. My eyes aren't working very well tonight, to say the least. I'm
Mr.
sorry about that.
Chairman.
That's my fault.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that the board approve the attached resolution authorizing the chairman to sign the PennDOT traffic signal approval applications, which propose modifications to the signal equipment necessary to accommodate the Paley Pike Trail improvements at the following intersections: Reservoir Road, Ellis Lane, Airport Road.
Second time.
Yeah, Ricky made a comment
Excuse
to
me.
somebody today that why that was necessary. Ricky, you want to say that again, just so everybody's no mistake about that?
Because the
do that.
trail is wider than the existing crosswalks, so we have to modify the signal. And in order to, whenever you want to do something to the signal, PennDOT requires you to submit a new application.
Everybody
Have a
understand that?
cost on this?
Yeah, this is all part of the money that we already have from the grants, not grant, the money we already have available. In other words, this is part of the process to have the engineer do the engineering to modify the signal.
Don't know how much it costs.
It's included in our contract with McMahon.
McMahon?
Yeah. Or it's part of their budget to do this.
Okay.
When, Rick, if you get a chance, if there's any breakout of it, just let us know. If it's $10,000, $8,000, $20,000, it'd be.
Okay.
So we
Yeah.
can,
All right.
Just so we know.
if you can do it. Thanks.
Okay.
Motion's
I
over.
have a question.
All those in favor of David's motion?
I have a question.
Who said that?
That's
Leo
Leo.
Sinclair.
Oh, Leo, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, Leo.
Yes, thank you. Being that I do a lot of work with contracts through IT, whenever there's a modification in the contract or the statement of work, it also incurs a cost. So my question simple is that I hear Rick saying that this thing's already been factored in. I want to know is, will this alteration not set off a alteration in the cost, or is the cost still going to be one blank fee and that's it? It's not changing.
This cost was, they already anticipated when they did their estimate or priced out the project, they anticipated we would have to revise the applications and signal plans.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
It's
a good
an
question.
estimate.
Thanks, Leo.
Leo, make sure that you heard the words correct. It's an estimate. It's not the actual expense that will come when it comes. But it's an
No,
estimate.
I understand. Usually with a contract, you do leave room. You know, we call it the wiggle room. Okay.
That's correct.
So if it's within the wiggle room, you're great. If you're outside the wiggle room, then it's a different ball game.
I don't know that sitting here. We would have to get some. I
There-
don't
there-
think anybody
there-
knows that sitting here.
There will not be any additional funding required for us to submit the application.
Okay.
They need to do the plans anyway. The only thing we need to do is, in order to submit the plans, we have to have a new application. And PennDOT requires that somebody from the town should be authorized to submit the application. In this case, we use the chairman.
Take care of that. We're in good shape, Leo. The next is.
No, Marty, a vote.
Aye.
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 Aye, aye, aye. I gotta get glasses
It's
that
5-0.
magnify this. I can't see anything. Maybe it's too late. Must be my bedtime, Mike.
Get him on camera.
It's 5-0, Mike. It's 5-0, John. The next is item number D, which I think we did, right?
We did. We're now up to Soul Smart.
Okay.
John.
And John, you want to talk about
Yeah,
that?
just real briefly, so we are going to be awarded the silver certification for Soul Smart.
Woohoo!
As I alluded to before, the program is scheduled to expire at the end of September and probably won't be reauthorized by the feds. And so Mark and I were reviewing what we need to do to get to gold. And there's a couple of like additional points that we can score as I've outlined here. But in order to get the additional 85 points to get to the gold certification, I don't think it's practical in the time that we have left. So I'm recommending that we basically just sort of, do, if we want to add a couple points, that's fine, but we'll just finish at the silver designation if you're comfortable with that.
John, I gotta ask you this question. What would the additional designation, what would be the silver designation's benefit of doing it if there was any?
Of a gold designation? I mean, there's no real financial, it's sort of bragging rights, Marty. There's no real.
Is there a cost associated with all this?
I don't know there's no additional cost there's no cost.
There's no cost, we get additional, we go up a grade?
Okay, Marty, let's back up. I'm saying we get to silver, we'll have silver probably by the end of this week, and then we just finish it. That's what I'm recommending.
It is possible in the future if there's a grant for something and they say, have you applied for any of these designations? And we say yes, and this is what we have. They may go, oh, they get 4 points now instead of 3 because they're not bronze or silver. It's possible there. I mean, there could be a little bit of value to it, but that's, it's all speculative.
The fact that we're silver and nobody else in our area is Soul Smart designated, I think we're in great shape.
Yeah, the bottom line is the designation is great. The bottom line is, this is an evaluation to make sure how solar friendly our ordinances are and those types of things going forward. And that's the important part is, we want to make sure that we're creating clear path and clear information for people who, want to take advantage of renewable resource energy. So I guess the question is,
David, does silver do that?
Yeah,
that's my question to John. I think we're okay.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what David said is we're for a relatively medium-sized municipality, we're doing great on the solar side. There's not the things that we would need to do to get to gold would be kind of irresponsible on some level.
Yeah. So I'm good with the staff.
To accept John's recommendation.
I don't think they were just seeking guidance, right?
Yeah. We don't need a motion.
Yeah. So I'm supportive of
Just
that.
make a motion to accept John's recommendation.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor of the no, wait a minute. Anybody up there?
Comment.
Anybody up in the?
Christina and Leo?
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I just want to make one key point. My wife and I, we have solar on our home, okay? And matter of fact, we just got a check today back from the electric company because we produce enough energy to actually get money back. It's like, wow, this is great. Now we're trying to get our money back. I'm all for seeing our township moving forward on this. I would love to see more solar panels throughout the township, and I would love to get involved in some way, shape, or form in the future about this whole thing. Getting a bronze or even a silver, it's not bad. I mean, getting to gold might be, as some people say, cost prohibitive. Probably, yes. But there's so many things I think that just even putting a label on there would actually help other people think about going solar. So thank you very much.
Okie dokie. Anybody else?
Aye.
Aye.
Who's it?
Aye.
Oh, we're taking the vote. You guys.
We're voting.
Oh God, it's 5-0 again, John.
I've been here 3 hours. I haven't eaten. Let's go.
I can't hear you, so
Nah.
that's probably why.
If you
Here
can't
another
tell, I'm
3
getting
hours.
Grammy.
Okay, we are now ready for any other matter. Do we have any other matter, guys? I don't.
dare you. I
I
dare.
don't.
Does John
No.
and Rick do?
No.
Okay, now, you guys up there, our little friends that visited us this evening, do you have anything you want to add? Now's the time to do it. Anything on the agenda that you didn't get a chance to speak about?
Anything that will keep Mike there longer.
Yeah, we'll get yours.
No?
I'd like to
If
make
none,
a
I would
motion that
entertain a
we
motion
adjourn the
for
meeting.
adjournment.
Second.
Second.
Sure.
Okey dokey. See you
All
all.
right. Good night.
Night, night.
Hi.
Good night,
Guys.
thank
Good night.
you.
Night, night.